Here we go. We're going to talk about the special senses in Chapter 8. This is the study of human anatomy and physiology. Touch is a mixture of the general senses that we've already studied in Chapter 7, temperature, pressure, and pain receptors of the skin. What we're going to focus on is the special senses. The other four traditional senses, smell, taste, sight, and hearing, are called the special senses. Receptors for a fifth special sense, equilibrium, are housed in the ear along with the organ of hearing. These senses are large, complex sensory organs such as the eye and ear, or they're localized clusters of receptors such as taste buds and olfactory epithelium. Vision is our dominant sense. 70% of our body's sensory receptors are found in the eye. Within each eye, there are over 1 million nerve fibers that send signals to the brain. Our eye is enclosed in a bony orbit and is surrounded by a cushion of fat which provides protection for the eye. The accessory structures of the eye include the extrinsic eye muscles, the eyelids, the conjunctiva, and the lacrimal apparatus. As you can see in this diagram, it shows you all the different places where we find the accessory structures of the eye. Eyebrows are short, coarse hairs overlying the supraorbital margins of the eye that shade the eyes and keep perspiration out. Eyelids, eyelashes, and their associated glands, the tarsal and ciliary, help to protect the eye from physical danger as well as from drying out. Conjunctiva is a transparent mucous membrane that lines the eyelids and the whites of the eyes. It produces a lubricating mucus that prevents the eye from drying out. The lacrimal apparatus consists of the lacrimal gland, which secretes a dilute saline solution that cleans and protects the eye as it moistens it, and ducts that drain excess fluid into the nasolacrimal duct. Here's what it kind of looks like, but here's a better picture of it. So as you are crying, right, this is where all of the tears are coming from. As you are crying, not only is the tears rolling over the top of the eyes as excess fluid, but it's also draining down into the nose, which causes you to have that snotty nose effect. The function of the lacrimal apparatus is to protect, moisten, and lubricate the eye. This structure continually releases a dilute salt solution, and that's how it protects it and keeps it nice and clean. Not only does the lacrimal fluid contain a salt solution, but it contains antibodies and lysozyme. This is an enzyme that destroys bacteria. The movement of each eyeball is controlled by 6 extrinsic eye muscles attached to the outer surface of each eye. These muscles produce gross eye movements and make it possible for the eyes to follow a moving object. Here's what they look like. Now, you're not going to have to know all of these muscles of the eye. Just know that this is controlling your eyes to be able to move laterally and medially, up and down, every which way that you want to be able to look. There are 3 layers that form the wall of the eyeball. The fibrous tunic, which is the outermost coat of the eye and is made up of dense avascular connective tissue with 2 regions, the sclera and the cornea. There's the vascular tunic, this is the middle layer, and it has 3 regions, the choroid, the ciliary body, and the iris. The sensory layer, which is the retina, is the innermost layer made up of 2 actual layers. The outer pigmented layer absorbs light. The inner neural layer contains millions of photoreceptors that transduce light energy. In class, we've already talked about the pathway of light as it travels from the cornea all the way to the occipital lobe of the brain. The fibrous layer, as mentioned, contains the sclera, which is a thick, glistening white connective tissue seen anteriorly, and we call this the white of the eye. The cornea, which is the central anterior portion of the fibrous layer, is crystal clear. This window is where light enters the eye. The cornea is well supplied with nerve endings, most of which are pain receptors, and when the cornea is touched, blinking and increased tearing will occur. This is the only tissue in the body that can be transplanted from one person to another without any fear of rejection. Because it has no blood vessels, it is beyond the reach of the immune system. So, no problems there. The middle layer of the eyeball is called the vascular layer. This has three distinctible regions. The posterior is the choroid, which is a blood-rich nutritive tunic that contains a dark pigment. This pigment prevents light from scattering inside the eye. Anteriorly, we have two smooth muscle structures, the ciliary body, which the lens is attached to, and then the iris. This pigmented iris has a rounded opening called the pupil, which light passes through. So we're come to the end of our first lecture on the special senses. What are the key points that you got to remember? First of all, what are the special senses? What are the accessory structures of the eye? What are the parts of the lacrimal apparatus and its function? And what are the three layers forming the eyeball? And the parts of those three layers. Here we go. We're down with number 1.